Hi, this is Wishop, and this is a card reading for the lunar eclipse of January 31st, 2018. This eclipse is related to the August lunar eclipse, and I will put a link to that video here and also in the description box. At this moment, I just want to say thank you for the people who've been liking and subscribing and commenting, and also to let you know in the description box, if I don't cover the shadow cards, the bottom of the deck, the underlying energy cards in the video, I usually put them in the description as well as the decks I'm using. So the astrology right now is intense. It's not, that's probably not a surprise, but I like it because we are seeing the results of small transformative actions that we put into play like July and August of last year. These may have been things that you put into play almost unconsciously because Pluto, which is currently conjunct Mercury as I'm doing this, Mercury, which will go on to sextile Jupiter later in the week, there's a strong emphasis here on revelation, on seeing things clearly. And Pluto, which can often work in a subconscious way, is getting so much support in Capricorn now with Saturn that it's bringing stuff to the surface that was more or less hidden before. And those things often have to do with issues of power. I'm sure that you can think of examples on the larger scale, national, cultural, where you're seeing this renegotiation of power structures, the revelations of secrets, the revelations of who's pulling what levers. But I want to focus on how that works for us personally, because now is a very interesting time to look at yourself and say, are there small, subtle changes that I made in August, maybe for no good reason, just because, and now I can see how much they've changed me? Were there decisions I made about associations I was a part of, or ways I needed to set boundaries or empower myself? And now, 6 months later, I'm really seeing the fruits of that. I think now is a time when you're likely to have suddenly an appreciation of how those things have been working, perhaps slowly, perhaps subtly, and now you're able to see that they've inevitably been transforming things for you. I think also, because we've got the lunar eclipse, we're seeing culminations of things that is going to continue to happen. But this still has to do with your joy and the priority that you give yourself, your desires, and your goals in balance with the priority you give the goals of other people. And that you don't empower their goals necessarily above your own, except with very clear consciousness of why you're doing it and what you're hoping to accomplish with that. So this is a time where the unconscious becomes conscious, and Mars, coming out of Scorpio, where it's been doing a lot of digging, because that's its traditional home sign. It's been digging up the dirt, getting to the nitty-gritty. The issues of love, sex, death, money, right? All those power issues again in Scorpio. Mercury is now going to Sagittarius, so it's looking optimistically to take this energy and this momentum it's got and make improvements. Now, what do we do about it? And there's a high focus on integrity and optimism. And Aquarius can be a very humanitarian and a sign concerned with integrity as well. So these are things, without being rigid and uncompassionate, you probably want to maintain your highest ideals for yourself in order to keep transforming, because I think more secrets are coming. Anyway, so let's use the Zirkus Magi deck. I chose this deck, which was the same as I used for the August lunar eclipse, even before I knew that was the deck I had used then. And I chose it because it deals very well, at least in my view, with strong energies. So here I will take the center card and see there's this cute little fox. This is an Inari fox, and this cloth shows the so-called demon gates. And this is the action of Pluto, this small, clever, but very powerful action behind the scenes that makes changes. So I sort of liked the idea of using it. Anyway, let's see where we're at. Ah, the devil. Okay. So the devil is Capricorn, and Capricorn is where there's a ton of planetary energy right now. And if you see, we have this kind of scary figure and these two small people connected to him by 16 tons. And there's the sense of being tied to something. But the devil is not always a bad card. The devil can be a card about making hard choices, about realizing what you will need to do in order to get something done. So you could talk about the devil, like maybe in this Leo Aquarius axis, you are having to work in an association with someone who creates trouble for you, and someone who you are afraid may not have your best interests at heart, or may not be at the level of integrity that you'd like. But the devil says you are the one who determines your own integrity. You can uphold your own sense of self. You don't have to be smeared by someone else's activities if you don't want to. You don't have to be tied to someone else that you don't want to. But you may need to make hard choices. A lot of times I put the devil card in the position of being the heavy. The thing upon which we blame our problems. Like I'm blaming the fact that I can't get this accomplished or that accomplished on the devil, whatever it is. And the devil says you're going to have to take responsibility probably, and all that Capricorn energy strengthens that. Take responsibility for the things you want and the things which are required to make it happen. But it can be a card, actually, of great success and of getting real. And Pluto is all about getting real. And I think we're having these get real kind of moments with this lunar eclipse. So let's see what the other cards are that we've got here. The Duchess of Buckets, which is in reverse. That would be the Queen of Cups in another deck. And we've got Two of Buckets, Harmony, in reverse. Okay. So you look at this and go, oh no, the Queen of Cups is in reverse, and the Two of Buckets, the Two of Cups, which is, a union card, is in reverse. So I think that this is actually strengthening the idea, as I'm reading it, of looking what you're associated with or who you're associated with, and making sure that that is a union that you want. The Duchess of Buckets, the Queen of Cups, can be very empathetic and very compassionate, but in her maybe less positive aspect, she can be self-absorbed and also self-blaming. She can really take on the woes and the troubles of the world. She can feel responsible for everybody and everything. Everything feels like it's her fault. And when we look at the devil, we have to look with a very clear eye at what do I think is causing this situation, and accepting the revelations that we find as calmly as we can, because kicking yourself hardly ever does anything to help. But looking at the revelations, okay, what really has brought me here? And who am I here with? And is that where I want to be? And if I've made some kind of commitment to a person or thing or even a way of life that I thought was a sacred commitment for the long haul. And I see now that it's limiting me. Or I see now that I'm using this commitment. Maybe the commitment itself is a good one and one you'd like to keep, but you're blaming it for everything in your life. For example, if you have a friendship or relationship with someone and you say, well, I can't pursue this path because my spouse wouldn't like it, or I can't do this because I have kids, or I can't do this because the other. Are you turning a relationship in your life or a commitment that you made in your life into the heavy for the things that you have opted not to do, or things maybe that just haven't worked out well because of circumstances? Now is a good time to come to terms with those things, not as a method of hurting yourself, but to realize that if these things are obstacles that you've put in your own way, recognizing them could go a long way towards curing them. Like, I realize I've been blaming this situation or taking on blame that wasn't mine. And in both those cases, it was inappropriate. And that inappropriate way that you were waiting, that you were turning someone else into the heavy or becoming the heavy, taking the blame, that inappropriateness is leading to not getting the results you want and not feeling your best. I mean, it seems like with the devil in the upright, even if you're succeeding, you don't feel that great about it, and so you want to feel better about where you're at. And not feel like you've compromised your integrity, or like you're bearing the weight of the world, or like you're selling someone else out. And it is certainly possible to feel great about yourself. But the first thing to do is to realize, what are those hidden aspects, maybe that you've been hiding from yourself, that are causing you not to feel as good as you'd like to? What are areas of power and relationship that could be improved? So I'm going to do a Gypsy Witch card just to provide a little more focal point or a little more focus area. Oh, here we go. Okay, number 43. Lightning denotes surprise, disagreeable in accordance to distance. Okay, so in this case, hang on to your hats, because this lightning serves almost as a little bit of a tower card, in that we are experiencing revelations that have to do with personal power, relationships with others, our place in the world, issues of perceived self-success and social status. And we are having to get real with some stuff that may be shocking to get real with. This doesn't necessarily mean something terrible is happening in the outside world. It may not even be terrible on the inside. In fact, it may be a relief to realize these things about yourself and to realize they don't have to hold you back anymore, because now you see them. You see this ottoman that you've been tripping over in the dark every night, and you go, I see what I've been doing to myself. I see why I've had so much trouble overcoming in this area, because I see the ways in which I have blamed other people, the ways in which I've tied myself down to social expectations, the ways in which I've had awkward relationships with power, the ways in which I have not served my own best interests and been my own advocate, so that I've set myself up as a devil instead of as a king or a queen or a champion or somebody worth admiration. You know, the first thing we do is make ourselves worth admiring to ourselves. And if you don't admire yourself, not because you're a bad person, but just because you've been doing things that didn't make sense to you, or things that are outmoded and worn out, now is a great time to regain your personal power and to feel fantastic going forward. So with that, I say, have a powerful and revelatory eclipse and rock on with your bad selves.